Blessings and best wishes. Reggie Hubbard here on behalf of the Ompractice platform with the debut of the Instagram Live series, Practice Makes Purpose. It is an online conversation, a conscious conversation online, where we talk about some things that, maybe a lot of people don't want to get into, but it's the conscious conversations about diversity and inclusion. So the yoga industry, the wellness space for quite some time has been a monolith of skinny, homogenous, uniracial experience. And I, as a plus size black dude who started practicing at 40 years old, really had nothing to do with I used to be a dancer, all these other things. So for me, yoga, my yoga journey has been about smashing through with compassion some of these barriers that prevent other people from seeing the wellness and the beauty in these wellness experiences. Again, I'm Reggie. We'll be here for through August, but today we have Sister Chanel Sledge, who we're going to talk about her yoga journey, her teaching journey, and her wellness experience. So Chanel, I saw that you're here, so just hit request, and we'll get you live and direct. And I can also see if I can request that you come on as well. But happy to have you here. For those that view us live, for those of you that view us on YouTube later, we're happy to have you as well. So here we go, Sister Chanel.
Well, hello.
We are live and direct. Happy to have you. Welcome
So
to
glad to be here.
the debut of Practice Makes Purpose. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for who you are in the world. And I'm basically excited to be here. I've heard so much about you reputationally. So it's delightful to see you virtually in person, number one. And number two, I'm just delighted to have this conversation with you because, as you heard in the beginning, I am for those of you that don't know me, I grew up in the DC metro area, and I most recently worked on Capitol Hill during the height of the Trump era. So for me, I like a good fight. And, as far as I'm concerned, the fight about democratizing wellness so that Black and brown people, all body sizes and all identities, feel welcome in the space. That's what I'm focused on now. So the last 4 years, I was focused on something else, and we were mad successful there. So now that I've retired from politics, wellness, I got you in my sights. So don't bet against me. That's basically what I'm going to say. So with that, Chanel, tell us a little bit about you, your yoga journey, and then we'll go from there.
So I am originally from Decatur, Georgia.
All right.
Decatur, where it's greater, right outside of Atlanta. I'm actually at a lovely little park here in Decatur right now because the weather's pretty. So I decided to take it outside. I discovered yoga actually through an injury. I used to run track, and when I was probably 33, I got out of my car one day and both of my knees buckled underneath me. So I went through the whole physical therapy thing, and they said you should try some yoga, and I was like, I'm an athlete. I don't want to stretch. I know how to stretch. I have no interest in doing yoga.
I'm good.
None. So but I was trying to heal my knees so I could get back to running. So I was like, well, let me just try it and see how this helps. And like I said, the first couple of practices that I did were online on YouTube. And I immediately was like, so this is not just stretching.
Right.
I don't know what this is, but my body really kind of likes this. And so I happened to find, I was in college I was getting my master's, I think, at the time. And I happened to find a yoga studio that was around the corner. First time ever being into yoga studio. Didn't know much about yoga. Like I said, I took a couple of classes. My first class was a hot yoga class in down South Georgia. It was 90 degrees outside. I had on long sleeves. I had no idea, didn't bring any water with me. Totally unprepared for this experience.
I'm happy you're still here.
Right. So when I walked in, the owner, she's like, you signed up for hot yoga? I don't know what hot yoga is. So she gave me a t-shirt. She was like, gave me some water. And I actually, I fell in love. That's when I fell in love. And I started taking classes at that studio and realized that it was so much more than just the physical practice. And it was everything that I needed. I metaphorically and in real life, I run for a living. I run from my problems. I run on the track. That is what I did. I would avoid things. And my teacher at the time, the owner of the studio, she said, you need to take some restorative yoga classes. And I said, no. And I refused. I kept refusing. And when she finally taught me into doing teacher training, she said, I'm going to require you take 4 restorative yoga classes a week.
Oh, wow.
And it was what I needed, but I didn't know that's what I needed. Like the first couple of times I took the class, I couldn't understand why I was so anxious, because I wasn't used to sitting still,
right,
and just being with everything that was going on. I was used to running, moving. I always wanted to take like the powerful classes, the ones that you get the sweat, the ones that you just, burn all the energy out. But what I really needed was to slow down.
Right.
To slow down, to stop, to be still.
Right.
And I said, I took the teacher training there. And when I came out of teacher training, she said, you're going to teach beginners. I can't teach beginners. I'm like, I'm still kind of a beginner. I can't. Like, how can I teach beginners when I am still, I felt like I was still a beginner. And I absolutely fell in love with teaching beginners. The original reason I fell in love with it, because it was a challenge to me.
Okay.
Because it was a challenge for me to figure out how to try to make it accessible for everybody. Because in beginners classes, and a lot of times, and even most classes, you never know who's going to walk in that door. You never know, what they have going on in their body, all those kind of things. So it created this challenge of like, how can I make this pose work for them?
Right.
How can I make the pose fit their bodies? Instead of us trying to fit our bodies into these poses.
Right.
And so ever since then, I've kind of always loved teaching beginners. And I love that when I have beginners, their minds are open, their hearts are a little bit more open and receptive. There's not as much ego, I find, as opposed to like in some of the quote unquote more advanced classes.
Right.
And so I love that. I love that student heart. I love that there's something about it that just, I love it. I love being like one of the first people they encounter.
Right.
When they try yoga.
I love what you just said, and it's funny because you don't know this, but maybe this is how in tune we are. Like all the questions I was going to ask you in order, because on my notes it says, Chanel, tell us about your yoga and wellness journey. Tell us about your teaching journey. What is about beginner's mind? So like you already like answered Black Hippie's question. So props to that. Tell me a little bit more about this beginner's mind though, because like I haven't taken your class yet, but it's on my list. And I teach yoga in a way that kind of breaks through ego as well, right? So I welcome all people because I grew up, like I wasn't an athlete and I didn't start practicing yoga until I was 40. And so for me, when people would be like, okay, so now compass pose, then headstand, I'm like, what does this even mean? Like, oh my, like, how are you doing this? So then as I progressed in my yoga study, I started teaching specifically hatha.
Mm-hmm.
So and slow and mindful. When people are like, I think hatha's boring, a word, stand in tree pose for a minute and a half. Table engage.
Right.
Is that boring? Right. So tell me a little bit more about beginner's mind and how you approach that, and then how you offer that to your students. So
for me, when I'm teaching beginners, like I love to do series, because series, I feel like if you do a beginner series, it really sets them up really well for a nice long lifelong practice, because this is a long practice. This is not just something that you just do, get in shape. This is, and some people get into it for the physical reason, and that's totally cool, because that's how I got there. But guess what? Once you start getting into it, you're like, oh, wait, oh wow. I got the smile on my face just won't go away. What is this feeling? And then you start getting deeper. But a couple of things, like for beginners, one of the first things I always love to teach is the breath. Okay. The breath to me is one of the most important things. And I just got done reading another book about the breath, because I'm fascinated with the body in general, the science of breath. And it's just so amazing how we don't breathe like a full breath. And for beginners, I find that they hold their breath a lot. They forget to breathe when they're practicing. So cueing the breath is super important. And like I said, for beginners, is just setting the foundation and letting them know from the jump that some of these things may be a little challenging.
Right.
This is not going to happen, like that. This is a journey.
Right.
And I like to show them that I'm not perfect.
Right.
I am still working on several different things. I'm on this journey along with them. I may be a few steps ahead.
Right.
But I'm still on this journey with them. And so trying to set the foundation for them for this journey with the breath, with certain postures. And I try not to a lot of times you go into a yoga class and it can be really intimidating. You got the yoga teacher saying, Ardha Chandrasana, da, 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 and you're like, who Ardha? Who? What is Ardha? Who's Ardha? Who's Ardha?
Right. Ardha's in this class. Where's she at? Right.
I ain't met Ardha. Ardha in the back. Ardha. No.
Right.
So,
right.
So trying to make it accessible, make it so that they can understand what you're saying, and breaking things down. So in my beginners classes, we do flow, because a lot of people come to flow. But when we flow, we're usually flowing just through some sun salutations that I've already broken down, and we flow. But then we do, it's more like it's a combination of flow and hatha, because I stop, we break down the poses, we set you up, we get you to feel into the poses, and then maybe you might flow a little bit with those poses, and it'll only be a few per class. Like, it's not going to be like, I'm going to teach you all the back bends, or we're going to do all the external hip up. Like, we don't do that. It's a few poses per class.
Right.
We flow first, get you going.
Right.
Pause, break things down, and then maybe flow a little bit more.
Right.
To get get into the flow, because people when they come to class, a lot of times they like to move.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that they get that movement in, but I also want to make sure that I give them the tools they need so that they are set up for when they go into a flow class and they're like, I have no idea what this pose is and what it's supposed to feel like, or how I can modify it and all that. Because most of the time in flow, like a true flow class, you don't have the time to give all the different variations, or you can use the block here, you can adjust your stance here, all these little things that you can't do in a traditional flow class. I like to incorporate it into my classes. So my classes are more like a half and half. It's like a little flow and a little hatha, breath work at the beginning, stillness at the end.
Okay. So how do you so you talked a little bit about it, but how do you specifically focus on making the practice more approachable, right? Because one of the things that I've noticed that teachers do, and this is specifically, this comment is to the teachers out there, we need to make yoga approachable. And I'll tell you where I'm coming from with this. So I taught yoga and meditation online during the pandemic to members of Congress, to their staff, to political operatives. And that wasn't, okay, we're going to do headstand. It was just like, so if you're hunched over your desk, find a tall spine. If you look like this, the only person that should look like this is either a T-Rex or someone in Michael Jackson's to look like this. So get into the wrists, right? Like, shake it out. So how do you make the process and like the experience more approachable? Because one of the things that I've noticed is that when it's not approachable, people leave.
Right.
Make it more approachable.
Well, I kind of do like how you do. I talk about, I try to always incorporate real life bodies and situations, like, how we sit down all the time, or how, all that kind of stuff. And, the tight hips and all that stuff from sitting down all day. And I'm like, so if you wake up or if you sit down on the floor and your back automatically starts to round, this is how you help that. If you find yourself like always like this, we're going to work on the class that helps to open you up so that you can sit up nice and tall, work some of the back muscles. But I also try, like I said, I am a very, I don't know if this comes across right now, very bubbly person. I'm a very,
no.
Yeah. I like to call myself a little ball of sunshine. And so I am a very, I hope it comes across as a very welcoming, a very warm person.
Right.
And I let them know that yoga is for everybody, every shape. And I always tell people at the beginning of my class, I have 2 rules in my class. And I tell them at the beginning of the class, these are my rules.
All right.
You don't like my rules? Rule number 1, you honor your body wherever it is today.
Right.
Not where it was 15, 20 years ago. Not where you want it to be 10 years from now. We honor our bodies where they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I give people that the power I give them the permission to take what they need and leave everything else. I'm not in your body. You know what's going on in your body, so we're gonna work with it and we're gonna honor it. If you need to pause, take a pause. I tell them, like, I'll be right here waiting on you. I'm not going anywhere for the next hour. Take your time. Take your time.
Right.
And rule number 2, put a little smile on your face. You can't be in my class without a smile at some point. Not allowed. So if you come in here all not up.
Right.
Where's your smile? Let's start off with a smile.
Right.
All right. Woo. Let's get it together. So I just try to make it really friendly. I try to I am not and I have taken classes where it's really serious and really just kind of, and I there's a place for that, and I do love that sometimes, but I'm not that teacher. I am the teacher that is going to make you laugh, make you smile, make you feel good. We'll take a little shake break. Right. I tell people I can't dance. Don't ever invite me to a party. I will embarrass you. All I can do is a little 2-step. That's it. That's all I got is 2 steps. Maybe electric slide on a good day.
That's all right. That's all you need.
Right. But I just really try to make it less intimidating. I always start with, I don't like to say modifications. I always start with the easier variations of every pose.
Sure. And
then always give the option to maybe take it here, maybe take it here, but only going where you need to. And I tell people, if you start frowning up, stop. You've gone too far. If you're not breathing,
that breath gets hella tight.
Right. If the breath gets all, or you're like, you've gone too far. And giving them that permission, because a lot of times that's something I find is not given. They're not given that permission to really listen to their body and do what they need to do. Right. And there's no ego in my class. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about what Paul, Jimmy, John, Susie Q, they're not in your body. Right. And I tell them, I'm like, nobody's watching you but me. But I'm not watching you in a creepy way. I'm just watching you in a way just to kind of keep you safe. But nobody else is paying attention to you. Right. You do what you need to do, honor your body, and let's do this and have fun.
That's what's up. So for those of you that are here, please ask questions because we're here for you. I mean, Chanel and I, we could probably go back and forth all day. But if you got any questions, just holler at us. Like, we'd love to answer them. I guess one other thing I would ask is that, so tell me a little bit about not only your journey as a sister teacher, but as just like a Black woman in the yoga space. You want to talk about approachability and accessibility. Like this right here, like Black male teacher, Black female teacher, chopping it up, talking about the things. This is like catching lightning in a bottle. So
right.
You please tell me about your experience as Black female practitioner and Black female teacher, because I don't think enough people know what we go through when we don't look like they.
So obviously, well, not obviously, when I first started doing yoga, there weren't many people who looked like me doing yoga. Yeah. I will say at the studio that I was at, there was, and which was why I loved that studio. That's my home studio. She was very, very good about being inclusive. And there wasn't teachers. Right. I didn't see a person of color teacher until it was well after I was in my practice.
Right.
And that's one of the things that was one of my things, is that I want to be one of those people that lets other people know that we do yoga.
Right.
And we need yoga.
Right.
We need yoga. And it doesn't matter the shape. Like I've been all kinds of shapes. If you look back at my pictures, I've been here, I've been here, I've been here. And it doesn't matter. I'm still a yogi. I'm still, the shape of your body doesn't matter. The color of your skin doesn't matter. None of that matters. But I think it's really important that we are represented, because I don't feel like we are properly represented. I don't feel that we are properly valued as well. I feel like if there's the people that they had a choice between a white yoga teacher and maybe a thicker person of color, that they would choose the white person. And even though I might have the more credentials, more knowledge, more this and that,
right,
it's just sometimes it's what it is. And
right.
and that's something that I'm trying to help kind of crush through and show. And I honestly, I think Ompractice, I thank Ompractice because I feel like they have done a really great job
Absolutely.
of helping to do that. And I was one of the OG Ompractice teachers.
All
And so
right.
the fact that they came to me, and this is when I was like, little known little Black girl in down South Georgia,
Right.
and they reached out to me, and the fact that they did that, and it wasn't because we were going through this, Black Lives Matter thing. No, they were ahead of the game. They
Right.
were already trying to do this, and I thank them for that all the time. Like that they gave me this opportunity, they gave me this chance, and believed in me when other people might not have.
Right. Right. And look at you now. No,
I know, right?
but that's also quite serious. And like, like Chris and Rachel and Sam, like love y'all and appreciate y'all because like this series came about because they were just like, Reggie, we want to do a little bit more online. I was like, I don't have a problem talking. So like, let's go, let's get it. And so thank them for like, again, the willingness, because a lot of people think it's a risk to employ or interact with people who aren't the norm. Whereas what I love about them is that they seek to do things that are not the norm. I mean, even before the pandemic, the thought of taking a yoga class through your computer, people were like, I don't want to do that. I mean, I can't tell you, how many people were just like, Reggie, I can't wait to take a class with you in person. And this is in April of 2020. I was like, that may not happen until October of next year.
Right.
Right. You're going to not do yoga because the computer thing, really. So tell me a little bit more about like your experience with teaching online, because I found it to be quite accessible, not only as a teacher, because I, like similar to you, but probably more exponentially over the pandemic, I went from who is this to who is this, right? So like I went from like not teaching at all to like teaching globally in the months. So like how has teaching online been for you as a teacher, but also how you serve students?
So teaching on, like I said, when this opportunity first came to me, it actually came to me at the most perfect time. And I love computers. I'm a little techie, and I love to be at home. Real talk. I am a homebody. I am a homebody. So at the time I was doing a lot of moving. And so I was having to leave studios and all this and that. And I was honestly, like I said, it was divinely presented to me. I was looking for a way that I could still be able to connect to my students, and when I was moving and changing locations. And so when this opportunity came to me, it was like, sign me up. Yes, and yes. Mm-hmm. But I was really nervous because I was just like, I don't know how this is gonna go. Is this like, because I've always been used to being in person, and there's a different energy from in person. I was like, am I still gonna be able to get that energy and to give that energy online? And so that to me was the first kind of hurdle that I had to get over. Mm-hmm. Was I had to, because I was nervous at first teaching online. It just felt different. Right. And I wasn't, when I first started teaching, I don't feel like I was completely, truly my authentic self because I was nervous. I was a little, but then once I started to get the nerves out, I started showing up just as me. Yeah. And I feel like I've the connections that I have with my students online has been just as good or even greater than the ones I have had in person. Right. Even in my classes, they know each other. They talk to each other. They like it's so awesome. Like people will ask about, hey, how's your vacation going? I mean, like it's still that community, and that's one of the biggest things for me was still to create that community, because I didn't want to just be just these squares. Right. I don't want it to be just these little squares and these like a number. I want to know you, connect with you. I want you to know me, connect with me, know each other, and I had a student the other day. She was like, "Hey, I haven't seen Paula in class in a while. Have you heard from her?" I was like, "Oh yes, she's back at work." The fact that they noticed like someone's not been in class, and to ask about them, it did up my teaching skills. Okay. Teaching online, because I had to learn to get really good with my verbal cues. Absolutely. Really good. I couldn't depend on my body as much as I used to demo, so I had to get really good with that. The only thing that I have found though is with my beginners class is I do find that I do have to demo more with my beginners class, just because there are a lot of people learn differently. There are, some people are very visual, and I have found that they will do exactly what I do. Like if I'm on my mat demoing something and I stop, they stop. I'm like, no.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
But it really has changed the way I teach. I think it has definitely made me a better teacher, teaching online. Definitely. I feel like I said, because my words have gotten better and more concise and direct, and I'm a lot. No shade to anybody, but a lot of teachers who are teaching online are on their mats the whole entire time, and so you can't see anything if you're on your mat the whole time.
Right.
And so being able to stop and come up to the computer to look and to give suggestions, or not corrections. I don't believe in corrections, just suggestions and guidance is a really cool thing. I love teaching online. Like I said, I'm a homebody, so if I can teach from home and then go have my breakfast, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good. I don't have to drive anywhere. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. How's your experience been teaching online? Just curious. I know we're talking to me, but I just want to know.
Because like prior to the pandemic, you kidding me? Like, I had a full-time job. I'm not gonna leave work early, try and get cross town, and maybe not make the 6 o'clock class. You know what I mean? So like, because in DC traffic, I mean, you in Georgia, what am I telling you? Especially if you in Atlanta. So like, whatever. So traffic, and just to get into one slot, and then maybe try and go other place, that never really appealed to me. And again, the studios wanted, and no shade, but certain studios wanted you to teach a certain way. That's not how Black Hippie gets down. Like, I teach like this. And if you're down with that, let's kick it. If you're not down with that, blessings, right? No shade or no shame. But what I found via online, both through Ompractice and through Active Peace, which is my world, I had complete freedom. Complete freedom to do what I wanted to do, but also to serve how and where I wanted to serve. So rather than being like in the DC area, I put a call out, and I had people and have people from Berlin to Hawaii, like coming in virtual Sangha, right?
Yep.
That's mind blowing. And the other thing I'll say is that I'm an organizer and activist when I'm not teaching, and I've merged the two, is that online, sometimes studios, whether it be culturally or otherwise, are inaccessible. And there are some parts of the world where you don't have access to a computer. So I'm not saying that this isn't first world problem, but like, all you need is an access to the internet, and you can get quality yoga.
Right. You don't even need a computer. You can do it. Cell phone, iPad, tablet, whatever.
Right.
And here we go. Like, I have so many people. One of my ladies, she was doing some renovations on her house.
Yeah. So
they had this little tiny. They bought a little tiny house to live in while they were doing the renovations in the big house.
Yeah.
With her little cell phone propped up in this little corner. You can do it anywhere. Right. In a hotel room. You can literally, like, I tell people, like, you can take me anywhere in the world.
Right.
I'll be right there with you.
Right. I'm gonna put that on my website. So like, but I'm gonna do like asterisk Chanel. Say, take me anywhere in the world. Like asterisk Chanel Sledge said this. Right, because I ain't gonna take your shine. No, but it has been a delightful experience to be of service at this time, especially when studios closed down and all you had was this.
Yeah. It
gave an opportunity to be of max service, right? So like, in 1 year, I've gone from not teaching at all to branded teaching practice with like Prince stuff and Marvin Gaye this and Kangol and headbands and all this. So Black Hippie has gone from like I said, from who this to who that.
Right.
So it's been beautiful, but like the best part for me has been like the opportunity to serve greater. And
that's the thing, is that now we have this opportunity to reach so many people that we didn't have the ability to reach before.
Right.
And like I say, especially in these times, I feel like we need it more than ever.
Everybody, yeah.
More than ever, we need this practice, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and we need this to kind of help. And I'm a big believer of like sharing love, spreading love. Like the more people who I can get to get into this practice, the more love that can be spread out, and we all can use a little more love, a little more sunshine in the world.
And a little bit
Definitely.
more too, right? Like, so as we conclude, what I want to ask you two more questions. One is, what do you consider, and I think you mentioned it a little bit, but maybe tease this out a little bit more. What do you consider an important thing for us to focus on now? So as we emerge from the pandemic, as people rush to this, or people try and go back to normal or whatever it is, what do you as yogini teacher, but also human, think is important for us to focus on in general, but it's especially as we seek to make these things more accessible?
Well, I think as we go back to this new normal, because it's never going to be what it was before. I think we need to make sure that we take the lessons that we learned during the pandemic and not forget those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And not forget those things. I know for me during the pandemic, I learned a lot more about priorities and boundaries, and I'm not going to go back to what I was before. I'm not going to go back to, trying to kill myself at this job that, doesn't care about me,
Right.
or, just stuff like that. And just make sure that you prioritize yourself, prioritize your mental health.
Right.
And I think during this time, people started to really pay attention to mental health. And I hope that continues. I hope the conversation continues with that, because it is a real thing. And in the Black community, it's not a thing that is often talked about.
Oh,
but
really?
it is so important, and it's something that I think that we all need to kind of get into and check into and work on that. Breath, remembering to breathe.
Right.
In the tough times when things get really crazy, stop, pause, and breathe.
Right.
I think that's so important, and taking care of your body inside and out.
Right.
Inside and out. To me,
Well,
I think those are the biggest things that I feel like we need to focus on as we go back to this quote unquote new normal.
right.
Whatever that's going to look like. And, honoring and respecting yourself and your body, and honoring and respecting others as well. Because we are all one.
Right.
We're all one.
And so any other closing thoughts, or anything else you want to share? So where can we find you is one thing. And then, so where can we find you, either online, on Ompractice? When do you teach? And if there's anything else you want to share, go for it. And then I'll close us out.
All right. So on Ompractice, you ready?
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know how many classes I teach, but I'm about to tell you. So you can find me at all times on Ompractice, just about every day. So Monday, I teach at 6:30 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday mornings. I teach a 6:30 a.m. Vinyasa Express class. It's 25 minutes. Monday afternoon, I teach the afternoon flow at 12 p.m. Monday evening, I teach a beginner's class at 5:30 p.m. On Saturday, I teach a beginner yoga class at 8 a.m. and a power yoga class at 9 a.m. So several opportunities to come and hang out with me on Ompractice. Obviously here, you can find me at Chanel_Sledge. Online, you can find me at simpletwistyoga.com if you want to do some more personal one-on-one classes with me. And let's see, what else could I just kind of tie it up? I thank everybody for showing up and hanging out with us. If you're catching this live or on the replay, I love to see the comments. If you have any questions, please get at me or Reggie. We would love to facilitate you in any way that we can. And let's just go out there and bring more little light and love into the world.
Well, that's a great way to end. I'll close by saying, like, it has been a thank you for being my first guest on this summer series.
I'm honored.
Practice makes purpose, like making sure that we have real conversations with real people about real stuff. There are a lot of people. The blessing of the internet is that people have free access to communication. The curse of the internet is that a lot of people out there ain't saying nothing. So you have my promise. Black Hippie promises you that if you see my face, we're going to be talking about something. We're not going to be like, oh, and then blah, 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 blah. Nah, ain't nobody got time for that. We things, especially as it pertains to accessibility and inclusion, because again, I said this before, were it not for the pandemic, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be this emergent personality The pandemic gave me the space for that. And y'all know how black, if y'all know black people, I'm gonna tell you, like, once you let us in, I ain't going nowhere.
Nowhere.
I'm here. So
I would say my favorite little saying, but I'm keeping it PG.
You can
But
find
y'all was stuck with me. Y'all figure out the rest.
I'm at Reggie Global. Active, so www.activepeaceyoga.com, but it ain't really about that. I'll be here through August, and then hopefully homegirl Yasmin will take up after this, after we till the soil. She can bring the flowers to bloom. So with that, I have all these singing bowls behind me. I'm going to play one of them in conclusion. So for those of you that are here, and for those of you who view this online, find your tall spine, shoulders back and down. Maybe take some half circles with the neck. Just relieve some of the tension and find just better posture. Navel is engaged. And reflect on the beautiful conversation again. Like I said, we caught lightning in a bottle. So like black male teacher, black female teacher, talk about accessibility with peace and love. That doesn't happen often. So reflect on this beautiful, accessible, delightful, melanated experience, especially the week after Juneteenth. Ashe. I'll ring this bowl 3 times. Let's inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Deep inhale, cherish the breath, allow it to fill the lungs. Exhale out the mouth, fully and completely. Last breath, in through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Blessings to all who showed up. Deep bow of gratitude to each of you. See you next Wednesday around this time. We will have Men Care Now, President and founder Nick D'Alejo talking about yoga and accessibility for men. Because, you know, yoga in the West is probably predominantly female, which is fine, but men need this love and stress relief too. So we're going to talk about that next week. And until then, love and grace to each of you. Take good care of yourself. Over and out. Thank you very much.